Hi parents and ABA therapists. Let's talk about prompting. Prompting is a way to teach a new skill or challenging skills. Prompting basically means that you're going to provide the child with a help for them to be able to display a behavior or a skill. And there's different kinds of prompting. So there's gesture prompting, where you provide gestures for the child to know the right answer or to do the right thing. And that could be by pointing at the right answer for them, by showing them what to do next after they put like their shirt on, they're struggling with one arm, then maybe you will basically point to where the arm is or where their hand should go. So just pointing and using gestures. Another way is physical prompt, and that's the most restrictive prompt because you're using physical guidance. So you're taking their hand and you're doing with them what they asked to do. For example, brushing their teeth. You can hold their hand and brush their teeth with them. That's a physical prompt, and also it's one of the most restrictive prompts because you're basically doing it for them. But some kids require that. Also, there is verbal prompts. You're telling them what to do, reminding them of what needs to be done next. Maybe you're giving them the answer or a hint for them to know the right answer. If you're asking them about academic skills such as colors or letters, you may give them a hint for them to know the answer. So that's a verbal prompt. Also, there is the modeling prompt. You're just modeling for them. You're doing it for them and ask them to repeat. Or you're doing it with them at the same time for them to see what you're doing. So for example, again, toothbrushing. You may take a brush and brush your own teeth and ask them to look at you and model what you're doing. So these are different kinds of prompts. However, when we work with kids, even if we're teaching new skills, we also want to work on prompt fading. You don't want the kid to always depend on you to figure out the right answer, or depend on you to show him how to brush their teeth or tie their shoes. You want them to become independent. That's the whole point of ABA, and actually the whole point of providing prompts from the first place, is because you want them to be self-confident, and that's why you give them all these prompts to help them. But eventually you want them to be able to do these skills independently. So most of the time, we want to use most to least prompts. So if you're going to start with physical prompt, again, which is the most restrictive prompt, which is a hand over hand, for example, you don't want to do that every time you're teaching them to brush their teeth. You want to go from hand over hand to maybe physical guidance, meaning you're going to take their hand and just put it up and remove your hand. So instead of holding their hand and brushing their teeth, the second time or third time, you're going to hold their hand and just take it to their mouth and leave them do the rest. You might intervene if you're unable to brush, their teeth good. You may intervene a little bit to make sure they're, brushing the whole mouth. And then you also want to, next step, to maybe use modeling. So you're going to do it in front of them and let them do it. You also may want to use visual aids. So that's another actually prompt, visual prompt, is when you have all the things required of them, visually, maybe pictures of how to brush your teeth and the steps you need to take to brush your teeth. So you have a picture of every step. So that's a visual prompt, definitely less restrictive than a physical prompt. And then they can look and do it themselves just by looking at the pictures. And then you want to take the pictures away for them to remember the steps by themselves. So they're definitely a way to fade prompts, but it's very important to do it consistently and to use the right prompts at the right time. It does require a continuous assessment because you want to know what your kid is able to do independently and what happens if you take away the prompt. Are they able to continue by themselves, or they struggle and they stop? And if they do struggle and they stop, it's okay to provide prompts until eventually one time they will be able to do it themselves with maybe less prompt or maybe with no prompt. But it's a goal for us to make them independent. So also it's a goal to prompt fade all the skills that you are teaching them and the skills they're able to do. Some skills, they may require a lot of prompts at the beginning. They may require a longer duration to get this skill. And then some skills they may get from the second or the third time. So it depends on what you're actually working on. You could be working on something like toothbrushing, but you also could be working on teaching them colors. And if you're teaching them colors, again, it depends on the severity of their autism. They may get it right away. They may not have been exposed to colors before, and you're teaching it to them. And from the third session, they got it. So you don't need to do any gesture prompts by pointing at the right color. You may ask, where's the red? And they're able to point and give you the right answer. So make sure when they do that, you don't go back to prompting them because they already got it. What you want to do next is to practice with them and review this skill with them every session to make sure they don't lose the skill they learned or the color they learned, and they're building on it with more colors and more skills. So that's just a way of helping kids attain new skills and new behaviors is through prompting, but make sure prompt fading is something you're also working on. Thank you for listening.